My darling children, the crystal chandelier above us seemed to splinter into 1,000 tiny, sharp pieces of light. In that moment, the entire glittering ballroom, filled with the murmur of 100 conversations, went completely silent around me. My son-in-law, Alex, stood there beaming, his arm draped possessively around a young woman in a dress far too red and far too tight for a corporate gala. He had just introduced her to my brother, Richard, the CEO of the company. "Richard," Alex said with a smug, self-assured grin, "I'd like you to meet Veronica, my new, indispensable business partner." My brother didn't even glance at the woman. His eyes, as cold and hard as granite, were locked on Alex. He took a small step forward, and in a voice that was quiet but cut through the air like a blade, he said, "Alex, you're fired. Get your things out of my company and get this woman out of my sight, now." "Hello, everyone. You can call me Grandma Helen. My full name is Helen Sterling. I am 70 years old, and I am from Boston, Massachusetts. This is a story about a night that shattered my daughter's heart, but saved her life. It's a story I've kept locked away for over a year, a secret I've guarded to protect my daughter, Clara, from the full, ugly truth of the man she had married. Even she doesn't know the real reason her husband's career imploded so spectacularly that night. She believes it was a business disagreement. She doesn't know it was a breathtaking act of betrayal that I, and my brother, witnessed with our own eyes. Until today, I finally have the courage to speak it, not to cause pain, but to honor the truth and the strength it took to confront it. Before I begin, my dears, would you do an old woman a kindness? Please, if you would, like this video and subscribe to our channel. Your support is a reminder that standing up for what is right, even when it's painful, is a battle we don't have to fight alone. It gives me the strength to finally tell this story. You see, this story isn't just about a cheating husband. It's about a deep, familial betrayal. Sterling Innovations, the company hosting that gala, wasn't just any company. It was the legacy my brother Richard built from the ground up, a company where I myself had served as the director of human resources for 30 years before I retired. Our family's values, integrity, loyalty, respect, were woven into the very fabric of that corporation. And Alex, my son-in-law, was not just an employee. He was a man my brother had taken under his wing, mentored, and promoted to vice president. He was family. We gave him a career, a home, and the heart of my only daughter. And he repaid us by spitting on every one of those gifts in the most public, humiliating way possible. This is the story of that night, and the swift, decisive justice that followed. To understand the depth of the wound, you must first understand how beautiful the picture was before it was slashed to ribbons. My story, the one that truly matters, began 12 years ago, when my daughter Clara brought Alex home for the first time. My Clara, she is my heart. She has a soul as gentle and kind as a summer morning. She's an artist, a painter, who sees the best in everyone and everything. Perhaps that was the problem. She saw a masterpiece where there was only a clever forgery. Alex, when he first came into our lives, was everything a mother could wish for her daughter. He was handsome, intelligent, and utterly charming. But more than that, he seemed to worship the ground Clara walked on. I remember that first dinner. He listened to Clara talk about her art with a look of complete adoration on his face. He brought me a bouquet of my favorite flowers, stargazer lilies, and he shook my brother Richard's hand with a firm, respectful grip. He called me Mrs. Sterling with a deference that was both charming and reassuring. He was ambitious, yes, but his ambition seemed noble. He had a business degree from a good state school, but was working in a junior marketing role at a small firm. He told my brother, "Sir, my only goal is to work hard enough to give Clara the life she deserves." Richard, who was a shrewd judge of character, saw a spark in him. He was impressed by his drive. After a few months of seeing how devoted he was to Clara, Richard offered him an entry-level position at Sterling Innovations. "The boy has potential," Richard told me, "and he adores our girl. We can give him a chance to prove himself." And prove himself he did. Alex was a model employee. He worked harder than anyone, staying late, taking on extra projects. He was a quick study, and with Richard's guidance, he rose through the ranks with astonishing speed. In 5 years he went from a junior analyst to a department head. He and Clara married in a beautiful ceremony in our family's garden. I remember watching him at the altar, his eyes filled with what I truly believed were tears of joy as he watched my daughter walk toward him. He looked at me during the reception and said, "Thank you, Helen. Thank you for raising such an incredible woman. I promise I will spend my life making her happy." He started calling me Mom. It felt so natural, so right. He and Clara bought a lovely home not far from mine. Soon after, my granddaughter Sophie was born, and our family felt complete. Those were the golden years. My memories are a tapestry of warm, happy scenes. The aroma of roasting turkey at Thanksgiving, with Alex carving the bird at the head of the table, looking every bit the proud family man. Christmas mornings, with Alex on the floor, patiently assembling a complicated dollhouse for an ecstatic Sophie. Summer barbecues in my backyard, the air filled with the scent of freshly cut grass, and the sound of my granddaughter's laughter as Alex pushed her on the swing. He became a vice president at Sterling Innovation. He was a success story, the embodiment of the company's ethos that hard work and loyalty would be rewarded. He and Clara seemed to have the perfect life, a beautiful home, a healthy child, a thriving career. He was the perfect husband, the perfect father, the perfect son-in-law. When I retired from my position as HR director, it felt right, as if I were passing the torch to the next generation, a generation led by the capable young man who had become such an integral part of our family. I would look at Clara, at the happiness that radiated from her, and my heart would be at peace. Her paintings from that period were so full of light and color, a testament to the joy in her life. I truly believed she had found her forever, a love as solid and dependable as the sterling name itself. I thought this happiness was our family's greatest asset, a legacy of love built on a foundation of solid rock. I didn't see the cracks forming beneath the surface. I didn't realize that the man we had welcomed into our family, into our company, into our hearts, was leading a double life. I didn't know that the foundation of his success was not loyalty, but a breathtaking deception. And I had no idea that it was all about to come crashing down in the most spectacular and public way imaginable, right in the middle of the company's 40th anniversary gala. That perfect family picture, my dears, it began to fade so gradually that at first I didn't even notice. It was like watching a beautiful photograph exposed to a slow leak of light. The colors wash out little by little until one day you realize the image is gone, replaced by a pale and unsettling ghost. At first, it was just small changes in Alex's behavior. Little inconsistencies you try to explain away. The late nights at the office became more and more frequent. He'd come home long after Clara and Sophie were asleep, smelling not of stale office air, but of expensive cologne and fine wine. "Another client dinner, Helen," he'd say if I happened to be visiting. "You know how it is, schmoozing for the company." I was retired, but I knew the business. I knew my brother's business. Richard didn't believe in endless client dinners. He believed in results during working hours. But I told myself, he's a vice president now, Helen. The pressures are different. I made excuses because I desperately wanted to believe in the man my daughter loved. Little by little, a distance grew between him and Clara. He stopped attending Sophie's school events. "I'm so sorry, babe," he'd say into his phone, his voice a perfect imitation of regret. "I'm slammed with this merger. I just can't get away." But he never seemed to be in his office when Clara called. She would talk to me, her voice filled with the confusion and hurt she was trying to hide. "He's just so busy, Mom. He's working so hard for us." She was making excuses for him, too. We were a mother and daughter, united in our shared, determined denial. Then came the new vocabulary. A new name started to pepper his conversations, Veronica. At first, it was just in a professional context. "Veronica in legal is drafting the contracts. I'm waiting on Veronica for the quarterly projections." The name was mentioned so often, so casually, that it became part of the background noise of their lives. A cold fear, however, began to crawl up my spine. As the former head of HR, I knew every senior employee at Sterling Innovations. There was no Veronica in the legal department, or any department for that matter. Maybe I was just being paranoid. I did a little quiet digging. I called my old assistant, a lovely woman who was still with the company. "Brenda," I asked, keeping my voice light and casual. I was just trying to remember an employee. "A Veronica? I think she's in the legal department." Alex mentioned her. Brenda was quiet for a moment. "Helen, there's no one here by that name," she said, her voice tinged with a caution that told me everything. "Alex has hired a lot of outside consultants recently." "Maybe she's one of them?" "Consultants?" The word hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. My heart felt like someone was squeezing it with their hands. He wasn't just working late. He was lying. And he was using the company, my brother's company, as a cover. The emotional neglect of my daughter became more and more pronounced. He forgot their anniversary. Clara had booked a table at their favorite restaurant, the one where he had proposed. She waited there for 2 hours. He never showed up. The call came late, full of frantic, flimsy apologies. "Oh my God, Clara, I am so sorry. A crisis with the West Coast servers. I completely lost track of time. I found my daughter at home later that night, sitting in the dark, the anniversary gift she had bought for him still wrapped on the table beside her. Tears just wouldn't stop flowing as I held her. He loves me, Mom," she sobbed into my shoulder. "He's just under so much pressure." I told myself to be strong for Clara's sake. But my anger toward Alex was a cold, hard knot in my stomach. He wasn't just neglecting her. He was gaslighting her, making her feel like her own feelings were an unreasonable burden on his very important life. The final, undeniable proof came about a month before the gala. I had taken Sophie for a special grandmother-granddaughter day in the city. We were in a small, elegant cafe in a part of town far from the financial district. As I was paying the bill, I glanced out the window and saw him. Alex. He was walking down the street, laughing, his arm wrapped around a young woman. A woman with fiery red hair, wearing a strikingly expensive-looking dress. He leaned in and kissed her. A deep, lingering kiss that was anything but professional. It was a Tuesday afternoon. He was supposed to be in a board meeting. At that moment, I felt like the sky was falling. The shock was so profound, it felt like the air had been sucked from my lungs. My hands trembled as I fumbled with my wallet. I quickly steered Sophie out of the cafe, my heart pounding, praying she hadn't seen him. I didn't tell Clara. How could I? It would have destroyed her. And what was my proof? A fleeting glimpse on a busy street? She would have found a way to deny it, to excuse it, and she would have resented me for planting such a poisonous seed. So I held the terrible secret in my heart, and it festered there. I decided to speak to my brother. I went to Richard's office that week. I closed the door behind me. I told him what I saw. His face, usually so expressive, became a grim, unreadable mask. He listened without interrupting, his fingers steepled under his chin. When I finished, he was silent for a long time. "Are you certain it was him, Helen?" he asked, his voice low. "I am," I said. "And Richard?" I checked the company's expense reports. Alex has been billing the company for thousands of dollars in consulting fees to a sole proprietorship registered to a V. Ross. He's been flying her around the country on the company's dime, putting her up in 5-star hotels, all under the guise of business development. My brother's eyes turned to ice. "The gala is in 4 weeks," he said, his voice dangerously quiet. "It's our 40th anniversary. A celebration of everything this company stands for. Let's see how arrogant he really is. Let's see what he does when he believes no one is watching." It wasn't a question. It was a judgment. The weeks leading up to the gala were the most difficult of my life. I had to watch my daughter, excited and happy, pick out a beautiful gown. I had to listen to Alex brag about the keynote speech he was going to give. I had to sit at family dinners and smile and pretend that I didn't know he was a liar and a cheat who was systematically destroying my daughter's life. It felt like I was the one living a double life. The night of the gala arrived. It was a magnificent affair, a testament to the decades of hard work and integrity that had built Sterling Innovations. The ballroom was filled with employees, clients, and city dignitaries. Clara was radiant in a shimmering silver gown, her face full of pride for her successful husband. She had no idea she was a lamb being led to the slaughter. Alex was in his element, moving through the crowd with an easy, confident charm, shaking hands, accepting congratulations. He gave his speech, a brilliant, hollow tribute to family values and corporate loyalty that made my stomach turn. I was standing with Richard near the main stage when it happened. Alex approached us, a triumphant look on his face. "Richard, Helen," he began. "There's someone I'd like you to meet, a key strategic partner who has been instrumental in our recent successes." He turned and beckoned a woman from the edge of the crowd. It was her. The woman from the cafe. The woman with the fiery hair, poured into a siren-red dress that was utterly inappropriate for the occasion. She glided toward us, a smug smile on her face that mirrored Alex's. My blood ran cold. He had brought her here, to our company's most important night, to a gala attended by his wife. The audacity, the sheer breathtaking arrogance of it was stunning. He was flaunting his betrayal in our faces, disguised as a business introduction. Clara was across the ballroom, talking to friends, blissfully unaware. My only thought was to protect her, to get this woman out of here before my daughter saw them together. But it was too late. Alex, basking in the glory of his speech, wrapped his arm around the woman's waist, a gesture of casual intimacy that was unmistakable. He beamed at my brother. "Richard," he said, his voice full of smug pride, "I'd like you to meet Veronica, my new, indispensable business partner." He didn't see the look on Richard's face. He didn't see the silent, cold fury that had been building for weeks. He didn't see the trap that he had, with his own hubris, just walked directly into. He thought he was untouchable. He was about to find out just how wrong he was. My dears, time seemed to slow down, to thicken like honey. The air crackled with unspoken knowledge. Alex stood there, puffed up with pride, presenting his mistress to my brother and me as if she were a prize he had won. The woman, Veronica, looked me up and down with a flicker of condescending amusement in her eyes, utterly oblivious to the fact that she was standing before the two people who held her lover's entire world in their hands. My protective instinct for my daughter, Clara, was a roaring fire in my chest. All I could think was, "Jet her out. Get them out before Clara sees." "Whan't you?" But my brother, Richard, was a step ahead of me. His response wasn't born of panic. It was the execution of a carefully laid plan. This wasn't a discovery. It was a reckoning. That single, stunning moment was the final breaking point. Seeing Alex flaunt his infidelity so brazenly, using our family's company as the stage for his sordid little drama, shattered any last lingering hope that he could be redeemed. In that instant, something inside me didn't just break. It hardened into unyielding resolve. I knew, with absolute certainty, that we couldn't just fire him. We had to dismantle his life of lies so completely that he could never harm my daughter again. Richard didn't raise his voice. He didn't cause a scene. His power was always in his quiet, absolute authority. He looked past Alex and met my eyes for a fraction of a second, a silent confirmation passing between us. The plan was in motion. He took a small step forward, physically creating a space between himself and Alex. His voice, when he spoke, was low, calm, and utterly chilling. It was the voice of a CEO announcing a final, non-negotiable decision. "Alex," he said, his eyes boring into his. "You're fired." The smug smile on Alex's face faltered, replaced by a flicker of confusion. "What? Richard, what are you talking about? Did you not hear me? This is Veronica, she's—" "I know exactly who she is," Richard cut in, his voice slicing through Alex's babble. "I know she is not an employee. I know she is not a legitimate consultant. I know you've been billing my company for her services, her first-class flights, and her 5-star hotel rooms for the last 18 months. The color drained from Alex's face. The woman, Veronica, blinked, her own smile wavering as she finally began to sense the danger. My awakening was watching my brother take control. My fight back was supporting his every move, ready to deploy the arsenal of information I, as the former head of HR, had at my fingertips. This wasn't a screaming match. It was a corporate execution, a grandma-style counterattack that used wisdom, evidence, and an intimate knowledge of the enemy's weaknesses. From trembling hands that wanted to shield my daughter's eyes, I now stood with the firm determination of a woman protecting her family's honor. From swallowing the bitter pill of my knowledge, I was now witnessing the brave speaking out of the truth. "Get your things out of my company," Richard continued, his voice dropping even lower, becoming even more menacing. "And get this woman out of my sight, now! You can't do this!" Alex hissed, his bravado crumbling into desperation. "I'm a vice president. I have a contract." "As of this moment," Richard said, his gaze unwavering, "you are nothing to this company. And your contract, I believe you'll find, contains a morality clause. A clause which you have just violated spectacularly, in a room full of our most important clients and employees. And my sister, the woman who wrote our first employee handbook, can attest to that." He finally glanced at me. I stepped forward, my own voice calm and measured, the voice I had used for 30 years to handle difficult terminations. "He's right, Alex. Clause 12, Section B, actions that bring the company into disrepute. I would say that bringing your mistress to the 40th anniversary gala and trying to pass her off as a business partner to the CEO qualifies. Don't you?" Alex stared at me, his mouth opening and closing like a fish. The realization that I was not just Clara's mother, but an architect of the very rules he had broken, seemed to finally dawn on him. His mistress, Veronica, finally grasped the full catastrophic nature of the situation. Her face, once so smug, was now a mask of pure panic. She took a step back from Alex, trying to physically distance herself from the explosion. Richard wasn't finished. This wasn't just about firing him. It was about protecting Clara. He knew, as I did, that a man like Alex would immediately run home and try to spin a story, to paint himself as the victim of a corporate power play, to poison Clara against us before we could reach her. "And one more thing, Alex," Richard said, pulling a folded document from his inner jacket pocket. "This is your termination letter. It's effective immediately. Our head of security is waiting for you at your office to supervise you as you clear out your desk. You will be escorted from the building." He unfolded the letter and handed it to Alex. But there was another document with it. A thin, crisp document printed on legal paper. "This," Richard said, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "is a copy of the full, unredacted expense report you submitted for the last 18 months. It details every flight, every hotel, every consulting dinner. A second copy has just been delivered by courier to your home. I imagine Clara will be reading it now. That was the masterstroke. The true, wise counterattack. It wasn't just about firing him. It was about exposing him. It was about giving my daughter the undeniable, irrefutable proof of his betrayal, delivered at the exact moment he could not be there to lie his way out of it. It was a move born of our deep knowledge of Alex's manipulative character and our need to protect Clara from it. Alex looked at the documents in his hand, then at Richard, then at me. The last bit of color drained from his face, leaving it a pasty, sweaty gray. The fight went out of him completely, replaced by the sheer, animal terror of a man whose entire world had just been dismantled in under 2 minutes. He turned, grabbing the woman's arm, and practically dragged her through the stunned crowd, toward the exit. The whispers followed them like a tidal wave. The passive endurance was over. The active attack, swift and surgical, was complete. As I watched them go, I felt no triumph, my dears. Only a profound, aching sadness for my daughter, who was at home, at this very moment, having her heart broken. My brother put a steadying hand on my arm. "It's done, Helen," he said softly. "The poison is out. Now," I said, my own voice trembling slightly for the first time. "We have to go to Clara." The fight for the company was over. The fight for my daughter's future was just beginning. We left the gala immediately. The buzz of the party, The congratulations, the music. It all faded into an insignificant hum as my brother and I raced to my daughter's side. The clear outcome of our actions at the party was just the beginning. The real resolution had to happen in the ruins of my daughter's heart. We found her just as Richard had planned. She was sitting on her living room floor, the courier envelope torn open, the damning expense reports spread out around her like fallen leaves. Her face was white, her eyes wide with a pain so deep it stole my breath. She wasn't crying. She was in a state of pure, silent shock. The woman in the photos attached to the reports, the same woman I had seen at the cafe, the same woman Alex had brought to the gala, was undeniably his mistress. The evidence was irrefutable. She looked up as we entered, her gaze empty. "Mom," she whispered, her voice a fragile, broken thing. "Uncle Richard, what is this?" That night was the longest of my life. There was no "I told you so." There was no anger. There was only love. My brother, in his calm, logical way, explained the business side of the betrayal, the theft, the violation of company policy. I sat on the floor with Clara, held her hand, and filled in the painful personal details. I told her about the day I saw them at the cafe. I told her how we had discovered the web of lies. We gave her the full, unvarnished truth, because we knew that was the only thing that could set her free. The tears came then, a storm of grief and rage and shattered love. We held her through it all. We let her cry. We let her scream. We let her mourn the man she thought she had married and the life she thought she had. In the weeks that followed, Clara found a strength she never knew she possessed. The gentle artist became a fierce warrior for her own future. Armed with the proof of his infidelity and his theft from the company, she filed for divorce. Alex, stripped of his job, his reputation, and his leverage, had no fight left in him. The divorce was swift and final. Clara got the house, full custody of Sophie, and a settlement that ensured she would never have to worry about her financial future. The antagonist, my son-in-law, faced the full consequences of his actions. He lost his career, his family, and his standing in the community he had worked so hard to impress. He simply disappeared. The lesson I learned, my dears, is a painful but powerful one. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do for someone is to allow them to face a terrible truth. Protecting them from pain is not the same as protecting them from harm. My brother and I could have handled Alex quietly, fired him for performance issues, and let Clara believe her marriage just drifted apart. But that would have been a lie. It would have left her with years of self-doubt and unanswered questions. Instead, we gave her the harsh, clean cut of the truth, which allowed her to heal cleanly and completely. And so, to all of you out there, I want to speak directly to your heart. If you suspect someone you love is being deceived, if you are wrestling with a terrible truth, please listen to Grandma. Children, remember Grandma's words. A lie, no matter how well-intentioned, is a cage. The truth, no matter how painful, is the key that opens the door. At this age, I finally understand that our primary duty is not to shield our children from every storm, but to teach them how to navigate the waters and to be their anchor when the tempest hits. I hope you will always have the courage to choose truth over a comfortable lie. It has been a year since that terrible night. My daughter, Clara, is transformed. Her art, once soft and gentle, is now filled with a bold, vibrant, and joyful strength. She had her first solo gallery exhibition last month, and it was a massive success. She is a wonderful mother to Sophie, and she is standing on her own 2 feet, more beautiful and more powerful than I have ever seen her. The resolution wasn't just the end of her marriage, it was the beginning of her true self. Sharing this story has been a difficult but necessary act. Thank you for creating this safe space for me to speak a truth that has been held in private for too long. Your presence here reminds me that our stories have power. Please, my sweethearts, if you found strength in this story, like the video, subscribe to our channel, and turn on that little notification bell so we can continue to share these moments together. And I would be honored if you would share your own thoughts in the comments below. Tell me about a time you had to be strong for someone you love. Grandma will always love you all. Remember, no matter what happens, you must have the courage to face the truth and the compassion to help others face theirs. Everyone deserves to live a life free from the cages of deceit. May you all be treated with honesty and with love. Love you all. This is Grandma Helen, and I'll see you in the next story.